Hey, how are you? It's Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. I was so happy to see an article at WBUR today talking about title insurance. And one of those things that always annoyed me about title insurance. And that is when you, as a buyer, buy a property with a lender, very often the lender is going to require you to get a title insurance policy to protect the lender if there's any flaws in the title in the past. And that's almost always required when you're buying with a loan. Also, at the same time, very often the attorney who closes the transaction very often encourages the buyer to buy title insurance, which covers the buyer themselves. And in both situations, the attorney who has been hired to close the transaction and technically works for the lender, but they're helpful to the buyer, that attorney does not disclose to the buyer that they actually receive a commission for selling title insurance. And here's the article from WBUR posted today, November 16th. Massachusetts homebuyers pay hidden fees to lawyers for title insurance with no state oversight. And then they give this example of this homeowner or home buyer, Peter Ott, who went to a lawyer and basically together the policies would cost $4,800. That would be the policy for the lender's title insurance and the buyer's title insurance. What the attorney didn't say, nearly 80% of that money, of the $4,800 premium, went to the lawyer who recommended the title insurance, but that was never disclosed to the buyer. Now, this harkens back Jack Gately's rule number one about real estate. Anybody remember rule number one? Everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable. Now, that's not to say that once you come to an agreement, you can always kind of renegotiate. You can't renegotiate forever. But in the beginning, things are negotiable. So if you got a bill for $4,800 for title insurance, almost everyone just pays it because they think it came down from some tablet, from some mountain or something. But no, remember, it's negotiable. Remember, a lot of that is basically commission for selling the insurance. When you talk to title insurance companies, as I have, they actually refer to the lawyers that sell the title insurance as their agents, as their insurance agents. So I know, check out this quote further down, which is actually kind of an admission from Noel DiCarlo, who is an attorney and title specialist at the Real Estate Bar Association in the residential section. The reality is, if attorneys weren't getting a portion of the title insurance, our fees for representing borrowers and lenders would be significantly higher. Well, then, okay, then be more transparent about that, right? And if you cannot, how about this? If you cannot justify your fees transparently, then I don't know, maybe that's because lawyers have a monopoly in Massachusetts on closing real estate transactions. Maybe could that be part of it? Because I don't know if you know this, but only in Massachusetts, the only party that can close a real estate transaction is an attorney. In a lot of other parts of the country, there are these other things like notaries or title companies. They can close a real estate transaction. But oh no, not in Massachusetts. The attorneys have a monopoly on that type of thing in Massachusetts. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that title insurance in and of itself is bad. I'm saying the failure to disclose that there's a fee involved, a hefty fee involved to the attorney who's closing the transaction. I'm saying when you don't disclose that, when you're hiding your legal fee inside of the title insurance premium, I'm saying that's wrong. Not criticizing title insurance as a thing. I'm saying hiding your fee inside the premium and not disclosing it, that is absolutely wrong. And you know what? I'm not a big fan. government that governs least kind of guy. It governs best, but this should be disclosed. I'm constantly contacted by lawyers' offices. Oh, you missed this disclosure, or you need this or not. And they don't have to disclose hardly anything. And most buyers think that the attorney who closes the transaction actually works for them. That's actually not true. Unless you're paying cash, the attorney who closes the transaction actually works for the lender. They might be super nice to the buyer, as they should be because they're making a lot of money off of them, but they don't work for the buyer. A quick reminder of why you actually get title insurance. You get title insurance because in Massachusetts, almost always you buy real estate with what we call a quit claim deed. That's just a fancy name for a receipt. And when you get this receipt, unlike the receipt, if you bought a television at Walmart, unlike that type of receipt, it does not come with any implied guarantee. Whoa, what do you mean by that, Jack? When you buy a television at Walmart, the receipt that you get from Walmart means that you now own that product. And any debt that Walmart may have incurred for that product, like to the supplier or to the trucker or any of that, that's Walmart's problem when you buy a television or a product at Walmart. However, when you buy a piece of real estate in Massachusetts, you get a receipt called a quitclaim deed, which basically means the seller is telling you, the buyer, hey dude, thanks for buying my piece of real estate. If there's anything wrong with it in terms of anybody that has a claim against it, don't come back to me. Not my problem. That's now your problem. And as a buyer, you're like, you high? I'm gonna give you $700,000 for your house, and if there's a title problem, I can't come back to you, the seller. So that's called a quitclaim deed. It's a crazy system, but that's how it works in Massachusetts. So the way to inject confidence into the buying process for the buyer and for the lender, who's putting up a lot of the money, is to require title insurance. What does that mean, Jack? Well, it means that the title insurance sends a researcher, usually a pretty well-trained researcher, over to the registry of deeds. And they check to make sure that there's no financial debts against the property or any other type of encumbrances like an easement or a pending lawsuit or things like that. So not only financial debts, but other type of abstract claims against the property. So once they do all that research, they then say, yes, we can issue the title insurance. It's a kind of a weird insurance because it protects you against things that happened in the past, right? Where most insurance protects you against things that could happen in the future. Like you could get in a car accident. You might break your leg. All those other things might speculative in the future. Title insurance protects you against things that already happened because they can research it. Not to get too off course here, but it's a great example of how like blockchain technology could make things a lot more efficient, but I don't want to get astray. So, bottom line is lawyers don't have to disclose that they're making money off you when they pressure you or encourage you to buy title insurance. And all credit to WBUR for bringing this conflict to attention. One last thing. At the State House, Representative Cabral from New Bedford, can't believe he's still there, he's been there for like ever, has filed bills in the past to get this type of transparency. They all failed. I wonder why. Can you think of a reason why they failed? I don't know. It might have something to do with the fact that the number one profession of state legislators is attorney. And a lot of those attorneys close real estate transactions. You know what? Some of the other more popular legislator professions, not only are they getting a nice salary from the state, but they also usually have an outside job. Real estate agent and insurance agent. So that might have something to do with the fact that this hasn't been changed and transparent for consumers. I don't want to speculate. All right, so I'm Jack Gately for Jack Gately Real Estate. and the Online Real Estate Academy. You have a great day. Bye-bye.